welcome back to another episode of the Experian Wise Up series. My name is Montshioagae, and of course, I am your financial bunny. Today, we're talking about living beyond your means. What are some of the causes? But also, we're going to be offering you a whole host of solutions. And I want you to think about it. There are various factors, whether it is marketing, whether it's advertising, cultural, social, academic, and a whole host of different types of factors that can push us as consumers sometimes to deviate from our budget, to overspend, and really just live beyond our means. But we've got all of the solutions. So joining me in this conversation is Lesego Montshioagae, who is a consumer relations consultant at Experian. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you very much for having me.
And I think let's start off by talking about overspending. I thought overspending, man. Like, I feel like overspending, and maybe let's define it. What would you say is overspending and what causes it?
So basically, overspending happens to the best of us. Overspending is living within beyond your means. You spend more than what you earn or what you have. It can start from that takeaway that you did not have planned for the month to that impromptu girls' night out, which you didn't have in your budget. And then next thing, mid-month, Mambara week, yeah, you're going.
I like that you call it Mambara week, because that's really what happens, right? You have a little bit extra work at work, you stay over until like 6, 7 o'clock, you get home, you don't feel like cooking. So what do? You buy the takeaway.
Yeah.
And I think this, and I like the way you started the conversation to say it happens to everyone, because I think sometimes we often make financial decisions, and bad ones, they belong to a certain group of people. But let's talk about that. Let's talk about more instances of when people will live beyond their means. In your experience, what have you seen?
It starts with budgeting. Okay. If one is able to understand what their income is versus their expenditure, what they need versus what they want, it makes things easier as to control your budget, stay within your budget, and also be able to save. It can be from, I'll make a personal reference to myself. Right now I'm having car troubles.
Yeah.
There was a situation whereby I used to save a lot.
Okay.
Being the breadwinner in the family, everybody depends on me. Suddenly, my car breaks down. Now I have to dip into my funds. So do you understand that if I was a person who did not have savings, I would be in trouble right now?
Yeah.
I would be under stress of having to take care of the family as well as trying to fix my car as well.
Yeah. And I'm guessing now that also puts you in a position where you have to look at the alternatives. And often if you don't have the savings, the alternative is?
A loan.
A loan.
Which
Credit.
puts you more in debt.
Yes.
Because now you're going to end up having an added installment in your budget.
Yes.
Which now throws you off your budget, whereby you find that your income now is less than what you are supposed to be spending. You can't even save. That's the mistake that majority of the people make, thinking that a loan is actually the escape or the alternative that they can actually use.
And it's always funny because that escape is always an escape that you are in desperate measure. So it's never a well thought out loan, right? You don't negotiate the credit, the interest rate. You're not negotiating the terms and conditions, because at this point, I need to fix my car. So whatever loan that is available, I will be able to take. I want to take you through somebody who is under pressure with their budget. Let's say, for instance, this is somebody that there's no way to cut. If they look at their budget, they're literally paying the bare minimum of everything, and it's literally hitting the top of the roof of the budget. What can a person like that do?
That's a very important question to ask, Nicolette, because we find ourselves in, it doesn't matter which culture you're from or which race you're from. Financial literacy is a very important subject that I feel like they should be teaching it in schools, because it starts from that 2 rand that you give to your kid at school to say, this is your lunch money or your pocket money for snack or whatever. Some kids are taught that they need to save that money, hence they have money boxes or piggy banks. And then when you refer it into adulthood, it's not completely different, but almost the same, it's similar. Because now you find yourself in a situation whereby I earn about, let's say for an example, 14,000. Out of that 14,000, I have to pay for my bond. I have to buy food. The bond doesn't go alone. It's got insurance on it. There's also transport covers. There's also kids in the budget. So how do I actually escape or try and fit everything within the budget? It's by being financially literate. That's where programs like UP are important, because not only do they teach you about credit information, they also give you information on how to budget, how to stick to your budget, how to manage your credit information. There's also your score in it as well.
I think as the financial bunny, you are making my ears so happy speaking about financial literacy, right? And it's quite an important aspect. But what I find, Lesego, is that even the people who are financially literate, when they know what to do, when you're put in a corner, you know, all of that kind of flies out the window and you're just trying to survive, right? And perhaps let's take it a couple of steps back and give people maybe a little bit of some tips and tricks. Is it possible to balance out enjoying your money and having financial wellness? Is it possible? Because people think sometimes it's a trade-off.
Most definitely. It is very possible. Once you have a budget in place, I know that in most cases we struggle to stick to the budget.
Yes.
But if you try to stick to the budget, then you're able to determine where you spend your money first, on most important things first, before you can actually spend it on your extramural activities. So that way you're able to determine that if I've got 5,000 and the most important part of my budget is to spend 2.5, then that 2.5 will go to the important part first, before I can decide what to do with the rest.
But when do you learn that lesson? When in life do you learn that? Or you must differentiate between the things I need and the things I want.
The unfortunate part is that a majority of us learn after we found ourselves in a financial turmoil.
Yeah.
That's the sad part.
Yeah. Would it not have been better if you had learned it from home?
It would have been. Hence the saying, charity begins at home.
Yeah.
It would be better that way.
So let me take you a couple of steps back. Middlelands, you're growing up, you're a young girl. What are you being taught about money? If anything, or if not, if a lot, what exactly?
Personally, from home, I was taught that you would be given, let's say, 50 rand for the week. It's up to you as to how you blow that money.
Okay.
If you finish it before Friday, girl, that's on you. But then that actually taught me to be responsible with finances.
Yeah.
Because then I was able to determine that, okay, out of that 50 rand, it has to last me for a week. And within a week, how much do I spend within a day? Am I able to try and minimize the amount that I spend so I can try and also save or not?
So what was the 50 rand for? What did you need to cover?
Carry. So basically, I didn't take a lunch box. So from that 50 rand, it's 10 rand a day.
Okay.
So from 10 rand, I need to buy lunch. So lunch is different every day. So I'll need, because I went to a township school, we get food that is not from a tuck shop. It's your snacks, your mazimbas. Yes. So I was able to basically either spend 5 rand and keep the 5 rand.
And I like that you give that example because, you know, I think this is the thing that we miss as people, is that we often hear people saying, I didn't learn anything from home about money, but we actually did. Because imagine if you knew that one Friday in that month, there's a social.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, it's no longer 10 rand a day. You want to save more for the Friday social. So maybe you are now kind of manipulating your budget to say, okay, I'm going to spend maybe 5 rand on Monday, 5 rand on Tuesday, so that I can at least have 25 rand for Friday, right?
Yes.
And I often find that we miss those lessons because we want finance to be hardcore, to be this and this and this and this, instead of looking at life lessons and actually finding those financial lessons from it. But we'll talk a little bit more about that. I want to speak about the role of budgeting. When you say budgeting, what do you mean? Because when people hear the word budgeting, they just like, hey, Nicolette and her friends on YouTube are starting again. They want us to budget. What does budgeting actually mean?
It starts small. Budgeting does not mean your investments and big financial decisions. It starts small. From how much am I willing to spend? What are my goals? Do I want to save money? There's a sale at Checkers. I usually get a 6-pack of milk for, let's say, 200 rand. Right now, it's 169. That's a deal for the next person, or for anybody actually, that means you're saving. So it means that it's keeping me within my budget. And I'm also going to be saving that small portion from the sale that I got.
So it's almost like knowing what you can and cannot do.
Correct.
And it's fine. What's budgeting in your language?
Yo, Kastwan.
Yes.
I'm not sure of the word. I'm not that good. My grandmother would be rolling.
It's actually not even being about being good. In certain languages, we use one phrase for everything. The word budgeting in many of our vernacular languages is often, or the word we use in its place, is often very interchangeable with other words. It's like when we think about finances, we say, "What budget?" You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if you're thinking about investments, as you mentioned, if you think about insurance, people just say, "What budget?" But they don't really go into the actual process of the sitting down, the writing. This is my income. These are my expenses, and this is how much room I actually have to work with. And I like what you said about, if I go into a grocer and there is milk at a discount, I can quickly pick up, because I know how much money I've allocated to my grocery, to know exactly how much I can actually spend in the grocery shop. So I like that you put it that way, because I think it's very, very important for people to understand what budgeting really actually is. Now, let's talk a little bit about outside of budgeting, outside of the financial literacy. What other reasons or what other things impact people overspending? Because I sometimes think, I'm going on holiday, who wants to go on holiday? Or Nicolette just bought a new car. Me and Lesego are in the same job. If Lesego buys the car, it means I can buy a car. In your experience, what have you seen being the other reasons why people often deviate from the budget they've written?
In such cases, it's because an individual is not able to differentiate between their wants and their needs. And also putting in consideration that me and Nicolette might be in the same position and the same amount of money, but your responsibilities are not going to be the same as mine. I might end up having to spend more on my budget, and you might end up having to save more on your budget.
And I think our financial goals are also not the same, right?
Exactly.
Some people they've got kids, they maybe want their kids to go to the likes of your Harvard. Me, I just want my kids to go to I'm not too stressed, you know what I mean? But let's talk about the role of marketing and advertising. People often say the reason why South Africans take up the funeral cover is because for a very long time it was one of the only advertised long-term insurance policies and not the life insurance policies. Do you think there is an effect that marketing has on our decisions as consumers?
It does, in a very big way. You find yourself in a taxi.
Okay.
For an example, like I mentioned earlier on, that my car right now is at the dealers. So in a taxi, whenever you are commuting, you'll see either billboard of some sort. That influences your daily life. It subconscious, in your subconscious, it's getting drilled in without you actually being aware. You might be in a taxi from Bryanston to Soweto, for an example, and then you pass 3 different kinds of billboards with regards to a sneaker. Already it's drilled in your head. Now you start imagining yourself that, okay, I think I like that sneaker. Next thing, you go to the mall to do grocery shopping.
Sneaker is there.
Sneaker is there.
Looking at you.
And you're looking at sneaker, and sneaker is looking at you like, impulse buying kicks in.
Yeah.
You end up buying the sneaker.
Yeah. Yo, that happens quite a lot of us. Impulse buying is quite a big one that makes a lot of us deviate from our budget and our finances. Yeah. Okay, so now we've talked about advertising. Let's talk about emotions. Emotions. There's actually a gentleman that I listened to, the TED Talk, and he speaks about how his friends kept telling him, you are obsessing over chocolate, you eat too much chocolate. And he said, no, I don't eat chocolate. He said, you eat a lot of chocolate. So he's a CA, so he decided, you know what, let me actually track how much chocolate I buy. So he went on his bank statements and he realized how much chocolate he actually spends money on, right? But then he was like, okay, let me also pinpoint when I buy chocolate.
Yes.
And he realized that he does it when he's in emotional distress. So do you feel that you are able to track your emotions through your finances, or the other way around?
I would say a lot of us need to do a financial audit.
Okay.
In our personal lives, because myself, I do that.
Yeah.
I find myself in a situation whereby if I go strong, like my emotions are all over the place, I'll find myself going to either buying ice cream. That Paul's ice cream is how much now? I'm not sure of the price, but
ma'am,
it's expensive.
The fact that you even know these brands, I don't even know them. I'm like,
you have that ice cream and then realize that, okay, I was sad I had ice cream, but now it's out of your system. You're broke.
So you've got overspending remorse, remorse.
Now you've got spending remorse. Now it's back to square one again.
Yeah. But what other types of emotions would you associate with cueing you to spend? I often find that it's sometimes for me guilt. Like you feel guilty, like you're spending, you're doing all of these things, and then somebody at home just calls and says, "Yo, we don't have 1, 2, 3," and you're like, "Oh my God." Now you want to overcompensate.
Yeah. For an example, you might get a call saying there's a funeral at home.
Yeah.
And now there's certain items that need to be bought. Bomalome, they're not working. You and your cousins are the ones who are working. Maybe let's say you're the one who's working what they might consider a better job than the others. So you end up having to take out either from what you already don't have that you're trying to save to compensate for at home.
And you've invited your friends from Gauteng,
Your friends are coming.
You've invited your Josie friends to come support you at the funeral, but you don't want them to see that veranda at home that's sitting like this.
You have to start by buying paint first.
Ish.
They have to fix the house so that when the people come, they're impressed.
Yeah. Yeah, guilt is a big one. Shame? Have you ever felt like you've ever been shamed into making bad financial decisions? I feel like there was a lady who once, it was a lady in my homeowners association meeting who once said we were supposed to pay a special levy, and this woman said, yeah, other families can't afford, we're gonna need to do payment arrangements. And I was like, excuse me, ma'am, payment arrangement for whom?
For what?
For what? Who do you think I am? Why am I undermine? And I think that sometimes happens to a lot of us, the way shame and scam can push us into making bad financial decisions.
True.
I think we've exhausted the reasons why people overspend and make bad decisions. Let's give people some solutions, right? Perhaps before we even go into solutions, let's start off with, you've got children.
Yes, I have a 5-year-old daughter.
A 5-year-old daughter. And what are you hoping to cement financially in terms of literacy, education, habits? What are you hoping to cement in her before she becomes an economically participating adult?
Right now, what I have actually started instilling in her, as young as she is, I've given her chores around the house.
Nice.
Yes. So once a week, I need to tick off what she did.
Okay.
Yes. So it's actually 50 cents. I pay her.
She needs me to negotiate for her.
I pay her 50 cents.
Yeah.
And then she's got her own money box.
Nice.
Yes. So she's able to actually save without actually having to ask for money from us. That way she learns that you have to work for the money that you want. And you also have to know how you spend your money. Yes.
You're actually prompting something that I think I should have asked earlier on, and maybe it slipped my mind, is the cultural aspect of teaching financial education and managing your finances. And it's that there are some parents who argue against that. They then say doing chores in the home is part of being a child in the home. What do you say about that? That you shouldn't pay your children to do chores at home because it's what they are supposed to do.
I agree, but I also disagree.
Okay.
It's like having to say kids need to eat vegetables. In order for them to eat vegetables, you spice them. You come up with different incentivize. Come up with different ideas for them to enjoy that kind of meal that you're cooking.
Yes.
Same goes for finances. It's something that yes, they're supposed to do, but why not throw in the teachings of financial education, which will build them when they grow up.
So essentially then, I think, if I'm hearing you correctly, the argument that you're making is that it's not necessarily that you're paying them. It's using the chore practice to actually instill financial habits. And it's quite important because what we see, and I have so many stories, please say. Another story, I do a bad thing. Every time I see an ATM, I want to withdraw money. And it's because I saw my father doing it. So growing up, literally, I saw my dad, every time he stopped at a forecourt or a garage, he would go to the ATM, withdraw money, and he always had cash in the car. So I do the same thing. So I think it's actually quite an important one to teach your children that you give them money, they put it into their little money box, and they actually keep it, and they can use it at a later stage. But also, it's a way for them to understand earning.
Yes.
Let's talk advice or tips that you could give a consumer so that they can avoid living beyond their means.
So, first most important tip, try and have a budget.
Okay.
And also try to stick to it, because
Yes.
I know that sometimes it's impossible because life happens. You might find yourself deviating from your budget, but try as much as you can. That's where we have platforms like Up. Not only do they provide you with credit information, we also have a budgeting tool which you can use.
Nice.
It can help you on your day-to-day basics, and you can also view your score as well. Yeah.
I like that budgeting idea because I think sometimes what we don't realize as people is that the budget is like, I think a budget is like a grocery shopping list, man. You know, when you walk in the grocery with a shopping list, you don't deviate from it because you know, I have 1,000 rand, I need to buy meat, I need to buy sauces, I need to buy soup, I need to buy vegetables, I need to buy cleaning agents. And listen, actually those biscuits I want do not fit in here. So either I'm going to be sacrificing the cleaning agents to buy biscuits, or I need to go find an additional amount of money to add on to this budget so that I can actually accommodate those biscuits. So I like the idea of budgeting. Do you think there is any value in having money conversations with your family, with your partner or significant other? Do you see any value in having those conversations so that everybody's kind of on the same page?
I do see the importance in that. For an example, in the black community, there's what we call black tax. The family might not know of what my budget is, but every month they're expecting something from me. And I might find myself being in a depressive mode because I can't now tend to their needs because I also have mine on the side. So it's very important to have such conversations.
You can't pour from an empty cup, guys.
Exactly.
Like I tell people that all the time. You really cannot pour from an empty financial cup. It just puts you into a distressing situation. You know, one of my favorite things to say when it comes to finance, and I heard from a lady called Paula, she says, you can get anything that you want, but you can't have everything that you want. So anything that you want, yes, but it can't be everything at the same time. And I think that's probably one of the most important rules when it comes to finances, is for people to understand that even with your budget, you have to allocate what you can get, what you need in the month, so that you can plan for whatever it is that you want. But you can't have it all at the same time.
Exactly.
Lesego, before I let you go, any last thoughts, anything that you want to, any tips that you want to give our consumers who are watching right now?
Pro tip, try. I know I've said a lot about budgeting, but try your level best to save as much as you can. Even if it's just that small 10%, that 100 rand, it makes a difference in the long run. Because you never know when you might actually need that savings for rainy days.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Thank you so much, Lesego. We do appreciate your time on the show and really sharing some invaluable insights. And I like the fact that you stepped into your own personal life to be able to share, you know, these nuggets of wisdom around our finances and our financial well-being. I think often we speak about finance like it's this thing that sits next to us. It doesn't sit next to you. It's part of you. It's integrated. Your finances are because of you and the decisions that you are making every single day. One of the things that is probably one of my favorite things to say is the decisions you make today And our parents in the black community love saying it. When you do that thing where you hang around at night at the gate or on the corner, they'll say, "Itla bonagala." Do you get it?
Yes.
The consequences will eventually show in terms of what it is that you're doing at that corner. Thank you very much for joining us for another episode of the Experian Wise Up series. Now, it's been absolutely fantastic getting those insights from Lesego, just homegrown lessons of getting an understanding of what causes us sometimes to live beyond our means and the solutions. It is, of course, budget. It is the foundation of your financial wellness. And how great is it that Experian has created the app which can help you with your budgeting, but also help you with your overall financial wellness. So please don't forget to register on www.app.experian.co.za. Let's get our finances all the way up. I will see you guys on the next one.